when the picture hits the screen on Christmas Day, I think the people of the United States are the ones that really won.
Kim Jong-un is not going to tell us what we're going to watch.
I am not the least bit worried about my own safety.
So a Seth Rogan, James Franco movie is now the blunt object of freedom, at least at the end of 2014. The people have spoken, and tomorrow people and theaters across the country will show the controversial movie The Interview. This after the FBI confirmed that North Korean officials hacked Sony Entertainment and leaked private emails from producers and directors. Sony then decided to hold off on release of the film, especially after some threats came out. It's a move that even President Obama condemned, saying that North Korea does not control what movies air here in the United States, and he has promised that the United States will take action as a result. The question, of course, is what action should the United States take? And are we going to treat this the same way that we would a physical terror attack? This has been called a terror attack. It's certainly a corporate hacking. Keep in mind, we're talking about an American film company owned by a Japanese company. So should the United States respond to this the same way that we would if North Korea had, let's say, bombed the Sony Picture Studio or some other physical attack that we're more used to?
Yeah, I definitely don't think we start lobbing bombs at North Korea or sending in troops. No, certainly not. But there's a number of different things that can happen. At minimum, you can send a virus over into North Korea and mess with their computer systems.
Which is what goes on in the Middle East all the time.
And,
and some believe that's already happened in North Korea with the shutdown they've had over the last couple of days.
Right. And they're very sensitive. I mean, you put a virus in, shut down a power plant, knocks out,
This is a little different than physical terrorism because there's a legal apparatus in place to respond to just this kind of behavior. It's called the Computer Fraud Access and Abuse Act. And the Computer Fraud Access and Abuse Act has itself been abused and applied in contexts in which it has no application, but it's actually enacted for just this kind of anti-hacking situation. The problem is we don't know who did it. It could be rogues. We don't know if they're state agents. How are you going to get jurisdiction over these people?
That act is that you mentioned. That's a criminal statute.
Yeah, it's a criminal and a civil statute, both. Okay, federal criminal statute.
So somebody could be arrested, prosecuted. Somebody could be
sued. Yeah, but you've got to get them. Absolutely. And assuming for the moment they're in North Korea, the North Koreans aren't going to extradite the person. So how do we get a hold of them? We go in there and kidnap them and bring them back here, Eichmann style, to stand trial.
But launching a counter-computer virus or taking some other cyber action against North Korea is not law enforcement. It's not bringing people to justice. It's punitive.
Yeah. That's correct.
It's an attack. It's a government-backed attack on an enemy.
So
we're treating it like a terror attack.
If we're assuming that it's government-backed as opposed to
no, our response would be government-backed.
Right. I'm not advocating that kind of response, although I'm sure the intelligence community will undertake it regardless. But unlike in the physical terror context, where I think it's not a great fit between the criminal law and the wrong, here you have a statute that squarely fits what happened. The problem is getting a hold of the actor and hauling them into American courts.
Right, and with the linkage that we think we've established with North Korea, we're going to take action against North Korea, at least if I'm reading the tea leaves right.
Well, we should do that.
But that's where the question comes in, because it wasn't an attack on the United States in mass. It was an attack on one company. There have been a number of Russian hackers who have jumped into like Target's credit card system and divulged. I don't see anybody, arguing that we need to respond against Russia.
The problem here.
Well, not saying that we don't know everything that's taken place in the national security world. So it's not to say we haven't responded to Russia or any other threats. This has become very public, and the reason I think it's become so public is because Sony has did a very bad job in handling this matter.
No question about that.
It's a debacle.
But it is a debacle. But they're also threatening physical harm at movie theaters for people who go to see this stuff. And also, I mean, it mirrors in a way what's going on with China with the tit for tat. I mean, rules of the road for the internet have to be established, that we're not going to tolerate this. But my thing would be to do it covertly and try, by whatever means necessary, to figure out who the actors are and put them on trial very publicly.
Am I the only one who worries that we're crossing a line here, that we're not dealing with state security in so much as we're dealing with corporate security?
So what is it, you not respond and let this happen? You can't let that happen.
Well, but we need to figure out where the lines are. I agree that there has to be some response. I'm just not sure what it is and whether the government in either a covert a clandestine sort of, CIA hacking job is the right way to go.
Again, Israel and Iran have been going at this for years already. So there's a model, there's people to call on, and
But
emulate.
isn't that with state apparatus? I mean, isn't that
We
with,
don't know.
with nuclear sites that could eventually present
propaganda
a
war.
physical harm to the state of Israel?
It's propaganda war. It's going back and forth, and this dovetails nicely with what's going on in the Supreme Court now. The argument that was just heard in early December about computerized threats. We're in a brave new world. We don't know what the lines are. It's almost like Cold War redux in the digital realm in 2015.
If North Korea hacks my email, no, better than that. If North Korea hacks Dominic's email, is the United States as a result?
There's going to be much more interesting stuff in there.
Right,
I understand.
He's a target of
exist.
opportunity.
But based on this new paradigm that we're establishing, is the U.S. government then supposed to step in and take action as a result?
Well,
what's the difference between Dominic's email and Sony?
What I think what my colleague said before is the answer. Because Sony was so weak-kneed about this, somebody has to step up and do something. Because let's face it, if we're squelching free speech as a result of threats, it goes beyond Sony and their stupid movie. I wouldn't be surprised if Sony's behind the whole thing because everyone says it's a garbage movie. Somebody has to do something.
Now we're not going to go see it.
In Sony's defense, we don't know what information they have in those emails. It could be enough to bring Sony down. It's already been terribly embarrassing to Sony, and it could get a whole lot worse.
Maybe people in a company, but you're not going to bring the actual company down. Maybe some individuals, but not the actual company is going to go down.
And keep in
Who
mind,
pulls a movie over a threat, a putative
Ridiculous.
threat from some idiot in North Korea?
and keep in mind, Japanese-owned company, U.S. is going to take the lead in responding. We want to get your take. We'll head over to Facebook and
We're a good
Twitter.
friend.
Sound off on today's question. Shit, we're not that good of friends. Should the U.S. respond to a corporate hacking as a terror attack? Up next, some Americans are holding off on seeing the interview, others refusing to even go to a theater that's showing it. I'm going to ask the panel, would you dodge a theater that's showing the film, even if you're seeing something else? Also, the economy is approved, but has anybody noticed? We'll weigh in on that after the break.